Riley, how do you deal with loneliness as a digital nomad? I get asked this all the time. Let's get into it. By the way, my homie Kay is here. You've seen him before on the channel. Also a digital nomad, happens to just be rolling through today. We just did another video about a work-life balance as a digital nomad. It's another commonly asked question. So, loneliness.
How do you deal with it, Riley?
How do I deal with it? And so...
More important question, are you lonely?
So we're going to get into that because there's 3 different types of loneliness.
Okay.
So I've gotten asked this question for years and years. And I just recently realized in the past year, we'll put together my idea on loneliness. There's 3 levels over there on the whiteboard. There's 3 levels. Okay. You have a companion, your crew, and your community. And so there's loneliness. You can be lonely or not lonely in each of those 3 levels. Okay, stay with me. So for me, for example, like I have a very strong crew, and I see crew as the middle level, as like your besties, your closest like 2 to 5 like best friends. And I have really strong, close relationships in my crew, very strong crew. Whereas companion, the base level, that is your one-on-one, your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, spouse, the person you sleep with, wake up with, who is there with you every day, you know, on the day-to-day, you know, your companion, right? And so me being a mostly single guy, you know, in this digital nomad lifestyle, you could say maybe my score is lower on the companion. So my loneliness score is higher. Okay. So I'm more lonely on the companion because I don't have a companion like maybe some others do that have a boyfriend or girlfriend that have that, you know, life, you know, one-on-one companion. And then so on the top level, I call it community. Okay. So feeling a part of a community, I am very strong in this because I feel like I'm part of this Bangkok / Bali / Southeast Asia digital nomad community very much. And then also just the kind of local community, just like here in Bangkok and Phuket and Bali, you know, that's like your friend group and their friends groups. So that's kind of just like your whole social group. You could call that community. Or you can also call your community something a little bit bigger that kind of has like a mission or a standing for something. Okay. Like you could even call it, you know, you feel a part of a community for like your sports team, whether you play on it or like you're just a fan of a team. Sure. You know, something like you have a part of a community that stands for something, that has a mission, that has a purpose. And so I'm very strong in that. Is
there one that is more important than the other? Are there different?
That's a philosophical question. So the way that I wrote it down is just, you know, I just couldn't figure out whether to put a pyramid, you know, facing which way, because it really just should be a square, a rectangle, because I think they're all equally as important. I don't know, what do you think?
Why crew in the middle?
Because it's the medium size. It just goes from small, medium, large in terms of number of people.
Okay, got it.
Number of people. So there's level 1, level 2, and level 3.
Right.
Or it could just be A, B, C.
Got it.
Or it's just like small, 1 person. You have your crew, which is maybe like 2 to 5 people, and then you have your community, which could be however many people you want to call that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people confuse loneliness and then being alone. When you're a digital nomad, many hours are spent alone. If you're working, especially maybe if you don't have such a place where you have a crew of people, right? Could be at a Starbucks or somewhere else, and you're kind of alone working on your stuff. But it doesn't mean you're necessarily lonely. Yeah. Maybe because it's of a crew or a community. But to be honest with you, I haven't thought about it that way. I think for me, when I thought about loneliness, it's mainly about the crew part, I would say. Yeah, but having 3 different things and kind of focusing on them, it does give you a little bit more of a lift.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be my follow-up question. Like, what do you mean? by loneliness, like,
Right.
because it can mean many different things. Like, do you mean not having a girlfriend? Do you mean not having a crew? Or do you not having part of a community? Your community may be like the company you work for.
Right.
And then, so corporate people, so are you saying like corporate people aren't lonely? And then here's my whole second part of this question. People who are surrounded by a lot of people, let's say it's someone who works at Google or Facebook or a big company or whatever, surrounded by people every day, Monday through Friday, they could still be inside, quote unquote, lonely.
Okay.
And I would say it's because they're not having the connection on some or all of those three levels. Even though they're physically surrounded by all these people every day, inside is really what the core of the word, loneliness means. And so when people like to ask, me as a digital nomad about loneliness, there maybe some image in their head is just a guy, like the thumbnail, like the picture we just took here, a guy on a laptop with some headphones on during his work time. Right. He's not surrounded by other people, even though might be in a Starbucks or a co-working space. He's not doing a job that's like, hey, high five, how you doing? Right. Water cooler breaks. And so maybe it has this image that like, that's my life 24/7, when really like my social life ever since becoming a nomad and coming out to this community has boom, my crew, boom, even stronger, but I've had a strong crew my whole life. Some people have had their good best friends their whole life, but I've made even more best friends like all the fucking time. Just this past year we had met like 5 more best friends.
I think the reason people ask you that question a lot is because maybe they're focusing on the feeling of feeling lonely, but once you start breaking it down to what you just said, those 3 elements, even for myself actually, now that you spoke about it, I haven't really broke it down. But if they break it down, they may see that maybe they do have a strong community, but the missing feeling of loneliness comes maybe they don't have a tight group of friends. So maybe creating like a mastermind group or like-minded people, or however else you may want to build a little crew. Or maybe it's they have the rest, but they don't have that special person and they still feel lonely. But they don't realize that they have other parts as well, which is the whole thing of being grateful for what you have, I guess. Yeah, exactly. And per the video that we also did about life balance, your loneliness spectrum is never going to be perfect because life is never in perfect balance. But that's the way I thought of it. It just came into my head like sometime last year, so finally could do a video about it. And another kind of side point is people associate digital nomad lifestyle with maybe more prone to loneliness, but like anyone in any facet of life in any career or situation can experience loneliness or lacking in one of the 3 levels. I compare it to like a lot of these digital nomad questions. You can just reframe it as moving from one city in the US to another because your company moved. So it's like some of the same, challenges, experiences that we struggle or go through, experience when we move from, let's say, the US to another country. There's the same when someone will move from Seattle to Los Angeles. They still, I was talking to a few friends back home, like relocated to LA. They still have to meet a new friend group. They still have to find a new companion or a new community. And so they still may have loneliness. So it's like, it's not just living in a new country. It's, that has its own unique things, but people in your home country are going through the same stuff. Anytime they might move a city, anytime you might change companies, even if it's in the same city. Right. Anytime you might have a breakup, you're going through all these things. So these are just generic life questions that, as a digital nomad is a human, and we'll go through all the same human things that any other human will. I think just the main takeaway then is don't get bogged down by the actual feeling, but try to break it down and be a little bit more analytical about it. What exactly is causing loneliness, whether it's that crew, maybe the individual, a partner, or it's the community. What is lacking and what you can build on top of it. On that note, comment
Yeah.
below if you're feeling
Yeah.
lonely and how are you dealing with it, and if some of these things were actually helpful.
If you're an aspiring nomad, check out my new ebook, Nomad Guide, free ebook download. Comment below, share this video with a bro. Peace out, yo. What is this outro? If you're feeling lonely, call 1-800-BETTERHELP. Sponsored by BetterHelp.